Once upon a time, there was a young monk named Kenji. He lived in a small temple in the heart of the jungle, surrounded by the lush greenery and the sound of the waterfall that flowed nearby. Kenji had always been fascinated by the teachings of Zen, and he spent his days studying the ancient texts and practicing meditation. One day, Kenji received a message from the abbot of a nearby temple. The abbot was inviting Kenji to join him on a pilgrimage to a distant temple high up in the mountains. The journey would be long and arduous, but the abbot believed that it would be a valuable opportunity for Kenji to deepen his understanding of Zen. Kenji was overjoyed at the invitation, and he set out immediately to prepare for the journey. He packed his meager belongings and set out on foot, walking for days through the dense jungle until he finally reached the base of the mountain. As he looked up at the towering peak, Kenji felt a sense of trepidation. He knew that the climb would be difficult, but he was determined to persevere. He began to climb, taking one step at a time, and he soon found himself in a steep and rocky terrain. The climb was grueling, and Kenji's muscles ached from the effort. He slipped and stumbled on the rocks, and at times he felt as though he would never make it to the top. But he refused to give up. He kept climbing, pushing himself beyond his limits, and eventually, he reached the summit. As he stood at the top of the mountain, looking out over the breathtaking landscape below, Kenji felt a sense of accomplishment and pride. He had overcome the obstacles that had stood in his way, and he had reached the pinnacle of his journey. But he knew that his journey was far from over. Kenji and the abbot continued their pilgrimage, traveling through forests and rivers and across treacherous mountain passes. They slept in caves and meditated under the stars, and Kenji began to feel a sense of enlightenment growing within him. But one day, disaster struck. As they were crossing a fast-moving river, Kenji lost his footing and was swept away by the current. He struggled to keep his head above water, fighting against the powerful currents and the rocks that threatened to break his bones. For hours, Kenji fought to stay alive. He used all of his strength and endurance to stay afloat, but his body was battered and bruised, and he felt himself slipping away. But he refused to give up. He remembered the teachings of Zen, and he focused his mind on the present moment, letting go of his fear and pain. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Kenji saw a glimmer of light in the distance. He knew that it was the abbot, and he summoned all of his strength to swim towards him. As he reached the shore, he collapsed, exhausted and battered, but alive.